What?
I did that.
You did it. Good job. Look at that kid.
And then go down again. You go down again.
Alright, where were we? So I'm still on the 2005 Honda Civic and I'm going to be doing the valve cover gasket. Yesterday I finished off the struts and it drives nice. It drives fucking good. There's no noise. And so today we're going to head over and do the valve cover gasket. So on this 2005 Honda Civic, it has the 1.7 liter engine. You can see that right there, 1.7. And it's a pretty good engine, but it's leaking out the valve cover gasket. And the customer just wanted to get it done, so we're gonna go ahead and take care of it for him. The power steering pump also appears to be leaking, but it could also be that the oil is traveling from the valve cover gasket to the bracket to the pump. So it's a fucking hot day today, and I'm gonna try to get it done as fast as possible. I'm gonna change the gasket, and then I'm gonna take the car and I'm gonna pressure wash the engine and leave it as clean as I can. I might show you guys how I do that, I might not, but we'll see. So first things first, we gotta take this cover off. Just use a screwdriver to get that one off. They just turn counterclockwise. Take this cover off. So take off these two bolts or nuts. Everything on the valve cover you're gonna be able to do with a 10mm socket. I'm just using my impact, my Milwaukee 3/8 impact driver, to get it done faster. It's fucking hot out here. And I just dropped a nut. Fuck. We're gonna have to move this harness out of the way. This is for the cruise control and for your gas pedal. Cruise control's over here. We can just move it out of the way and it'll stay. Dipstick, that one comes out. I moved the camera because I gotta find a good place where the sun doesn't hit it, because for some reason this camera, even when it's not in sunlight, it overheats and it just shuts off on me. So I moved it over under the hood to keep it in the shade. But yeah, valve cover gasket. So we're gonna unplug the coils. Unplug these coils and move them out of the way. This harness has to be moved this way. I'm gonna move it out this way towards the front of the engine. So there's a bolt here that holds this AC line. It's right here, you'll see it. And take that off. So we took that bolt out so we can move the line this way and sneak the harness out from where it's routed. Now we can actually move it out this way. I think I can get you a better view if I show you guys. Okay, so there's a bolt there, the harness goes in there. We move the harness out of the way, and now we can access the valve cover a little better. Now if we have bungee cords, we can actually hold this back out of the way. We need to hold this right there. So the coils are already unbolted, so I'm just gonna pull those out. When you're doing a valve cover gasket, you can get the gasket by itself, the gasket that goes around the valve cover, or you can get the gasket that comes with grommets. These 4 grommets have to be replaced. They go around the spark plug tubes, and that prevents oil from leaking into the spark plugs. These right here are dry. They look okay, so I'm not gonna change them. Okay, it's kind of hard to get the camera in there, but you can see that there's no oil in the spark plug hose. And if there was, I will get the hose set. There's only 5 bolts holding the valve cover in place. You gotta move this hose out of the way. Fuck. Okay, got that out of the way. Now we can move this, the rest of this harness, and just push it back. Okay, it looks like it's ready to come out. I mean, it's not that difficult, you know, it's just annoying. That's it. Oh, there's one more bolt holding this shit in the back. No shit. There she is. Alright, so this is what you're gonna be looking at when you get the valve cover off. You can tell a lot if the customer's been taking care of the car, if he's been doing his oil changes. And this valve train actually looks pretty good. It looks pretty clean, so Mr. Customer, I'm proud of you. So I got the valve cover off. Now it's time to take the gasket out. If you take off this gasket and it comes out in like 20 or 30 pieces, that means it was time to change it, because it's fucking brittle. But if you can manage to get it out in one piece, well then good for you. Okay, so you just want to start taking it off. See how this one's coming out in one piece? This means, doesn't really mean shit, you know, it's just not that brittle. It's still leaking. You can see, you saw where it was leaking. You can see all this shit here. Let's say after I change this valve cover gasket, I still have leaks. Then we're gonna have to look into the PCV system, because the PCV system helps prevent oil leaks. Alright, so new valve cover gasket. Basically what you want to do with the new gasket is just push it into place, and it's gonna feel like the gasket is too big, and then you're gonna call your parts store and be like, "Hey bitches, you gave me the wrong gasket." Because you're putting it on backwards. Ah shit. Okay, there you go, that's better. That's it. New gasket in place. So I'm gonna just put that right there, out of the way, and that should hold that piece. This piece was already back here, so it looks like they put silicone all around this bitch. If you look closely, it looks like somebody used silicone all around where the valve cover gasket goes. You can see that. You can see silicone in there. Now let me tell you something. This right here is silicone. This right here is a gasket. This becomes this when it dries. So if you're putting a gasket on, you don't need to go around the whole valve cover with silicone. When this shit dries, it becomes a fucking gasket. So don't put silicone around the whole perimeter. You might need some right here in this corner, and you might need some right here in this corner, and the same thing goes for here and here, because these are sharp corners. So if you can put some silicone right here, it'll actually seal in that little gap that's gonna be there when you put the valve cover back on there. But you don't need silicone all around the motherfucking valve cover, because this blue shit here, that's a gasket. This, you don't need this. So don't double gasket your shit. That goes for an oil pan gasket, for a transmission pan gasket. Don't do it. That's it, don't do it. Fuck. Alright, so as far as the silicone goes, you just want to put some right here in the corners. So you can see I put some silicone right there in that corner, because that is a potential oil leak right there. But anything that's flat like this around here, you don't need to put any silicone. Here, I'll show you right there. I put some over there. I put a little blob of silicone, so when I put the gasket, it's gonna seal up against these corners that are right here on the valve cover. Okay, so this corner right here and this corner right here. Anywhere else, you don't need that silicone. So I'm gonna drop the valve cover on there right now. The hardest part of this, it's gonna be this back side of the gasket. Not so much this side right here. This side we can see if it's sitting flush, but the back side could get caught on any of these rocker arm bolts right here, and it could potentially pull the gasket off. So if that does happen, we're gonna have a lot of oil leaking in the backside, so we gotta be very careful. We wanna move this shit out of the way, and this hose right here out of the way. You wanna go ahead and pull the bolts up so that they don't get caught on anything. So basically this back part of the gasket, you wanna make sure it doesn't come off as you're putting this shit in. Don't tell me that was easy like that. It's not all the way in. It's not in all the way. Maybe. Another thing you want to guide to is these grommets around the spark plug tubes. You want to make sure they go around it so they can seal. But it looks like I'm in. One way to know is to push these bolts down. See if they grab on. I guess the good part about working in the sun is that it softens up the rubber. See how easy that hose was to put on? And I struggled to take that shit off. Oh, that looks good. Let's clean these coils. Drop them in. Okay, that feels good to me. Dipstick. This chingadera. Let's go here. Alright, don't forget to route this harness back up in here behind this AC line. What? And put this bolt on to hold the AC line. You don't want the AC line to vibrate, because then that's going to give you a leak on the AC system. So put that there for now. And then this little whatever the fuck this is, this goes on the power steering pump, and it holds that harness in place, because you don't want that harness to rub on the bracket or on the power steering pump, because it's pretty sharp and it's gonna cut into it. And then that's where the problems start. That's where a lot of people, they don't put all this little shit back, and that's where short to grounds and all these weird electrical problems start happening. So don't just get the big job done and leave all this little shit unfinished, because this is the important stuff. This is why engineers get paid. That one. I almost forgot. These cables for the throttle body, from the cruise control and from the gas pedal. If I forget those, it's not gonna be a good day. Always double check your work. Make sure everything is where it's supposed to be. Okay, now we're good. So once I clean the engine, I'm gonna try to clean all this shit right here. It's gonna go from this to this right here. Check that out. That is one clean engine bay.